Okay, so welcome everyone to another one of Wellspring's Be Well Talk. We're so glad you could join us today. And just to make sure you're in the right spot, our talk webinar title today is Using the Cancer Journey Roadmap to Navigate Your Cancer Journey. So we're very excited to present. I don't think we've had a topic like this before. So we're really hoping that it is helpful to you and can't wait to dive into things. So if I could have the next slide, please. Okay, so I am super excited to introduce our speaker for today, Shalina Kalfan. So Shalina is a registered occupational therapist, a certified cancer journey coach, and a Wellspring volunteer as well. So prior to her own personal diagnosis, Shalina worked with patients with cancer to help them maximize their physical health and well-being. And after her own experience with triple-negative breast cancer, she completed the fundamentals of the Cancer Coaching Program and the International Certification of Cancer Journey Coaching. These programs supported her own personal healing, and since then, she has been even more passionate about helping individuals navigate their cancer journey. So Shalina, I am so glad to have you here today and cannot wait to pass it along to you for our presentation today.
Thank you, Vinita. Thank you for inviting me and for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm very grateful to be here. Wellspring means a lot to me, so I'm happy to be in this position to share something that I tools that I really believe in. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit about my story. I do believe that there's a lot of learning that happens when we share experiences. I'm going to give you an overview of the Cancer Journey Institute's coaching model, which is known as SLAMS. I'm going to review the Cancer Journey Roadmap in detail. And then I'll review ways of how you can use this roadmap to navigate your cancer journey, whether you're a patient, a survivor, or a caregiver. So I'll start off by telling you a little bit about my story. And I know Vinita gave you a bit of an introduction. Before I was personally connected with cancer, I'm married, I have 3 children, and I worked in the community with patients who were navigating cancer. I would help them with their physical health and sometimes emotional health. But then my connection with cancer became a little bit more personal. About 16 years ago, my dad received the diagnosis of having prostate cancer. And so that began my role as a caregiver. I began to get a deeper appreciation of how cancer impacts an individual. And then about 6 or 7 years after him, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that even more intensified what I was learning about cancer, because I got to see how they both navigated their cancer journey differently. Obviously, they were different individuals with different personalities. And so I learned even more about the impact of cancer. So we fast forward even more, about 6 years ago, in 2017, I was 43 years old, and I got the shocking diagnosis of my own cancer journey. And, I'll get into that when I describe the Cancer Journey Roadmap, but I really was shocked at the time, and I really was very, almost very confident that I knew what I had to know to navigate cancer. I told myself I'm a therapist. I've seen my parents go through this journey. I have a lot of wealth of experience behind me. And so I was quite confident when I started my treatment. But boy, was I in for a surprise. And I'll share more about that with you during the roadmap. But, I really learned that how cancer really affects the whole individual, not just the physical body, but the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects as well. And so fast forward from there, I finished my treatment. I went back to work as a therapist, but I felt a calling to do something more. I felt that my cancer journey had really created more excitement and a passion to help individuals who are navigating cancer. And so that's when I became trained as a cancer journey coach, and I joined Wellspring as a volunteer coach in their cancer transition coaching program. So that's a little bit about me. So let's get started. So the SLANTS model it's a coaching model, basically a framework that encompasses a number of tools. This framework was created by an institution called the Cancer Journey Institute, and they are based in California. And the founder's name is Sherry Ann Tom. Now, she's a 5-time survivor of different types of cancer. As she was going through her treatment in the US, she felt that the medical system was designed primarily to help treat the physical aspects of cancer. But she really felt lost and frustrated with everything else in how cancer impacts you. And so she decided to create an institute where she would teach tools to help people who are going through cancer or their caregivers how to shift, how to process their journey, and how to heal themselves in terms of their emotions, their mental state, their spirit. And so she designed the Cancer Journey Institute and all the tools in this model to help one process their journey and really process their feelings in all the stages that we go through with cancer. And the strategies are meant to help you shift from a state of panic and anxiety to a state of empowerment. So that's a little bit about the fact and why the model was created. And so I'll give you an overview of the model. And in each of these sections, there's a whole bunch of tools and strategies and maps that go into each category, which I am not going to go through with this webinar, but we will focus in on one of the maps today. So S stands for stop. And stop means stop. What is the panic about? For those of you who are closely connected to cancer, which I'm sure most of you, that's why you've joined, you understand when I use the word panic. Stop and just kind of center yourself, ground yourself, identify to stop the panic. So there are strategies in this section. L stands for locate. Locate refers to locating where are you right now. So we're going to talk about one map, which is the Cancer Journey Roadmap, which identifies where are you in your journey as a patient, as a survivor, or as a caregiver. Where are you today? Another map in this section is map of your feelings. Where are you with your feelings today? Another map in this area would be your map of awareness. Where are you with your level of awareness with today? A stands for activate. And activate refers to activating who you are and what is your compelling vision. So when I say this, this is actually my favorite part of the model and my favorite strategies under activate. Anybody, all of you who know cancer well, I call it like the messiness of cancer. It's very easy to get lost and disconnected with yourself when you're going through cancer or when your loved one is going through cancer. There's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of swirl, and while you're navigating treatment or even after, you're managing a lot. And it's easy to become disconnected with who you are. So activate is about tools to help you activate. Who are you? How can we reconnect you with what's important to you and what you bring to this journey? And we also have tools to help you reconnect with what is your compelling vision. What is bigger than your cancer? What are your dreams? M stands for making it real. And these are strategies to help you focus on how can I make this real today? Even if I'm going through treatment, even if I've just finished my treatment or if my loved one is going through treatment. How can I make my values and my dreams relevant today so I can experience that? And S is selecting powerful choices. S refers to tools to help us remember what we can and what we can't control, and how we get to choose how we move forwards with our choices and with our perspectives. So that's an overview of the model. And as I said, it's a framework that encompasses a number of tools in each of the domains. Okay, so I'm going to spend the rest of the webinar talking about the Cancer Journey Roadmap. Now, this map that was originally, there was a map made by Joseph Campbell. It was a life map. And the Cancer Journey Institute adapted this map, made it very relevant to those who are navigating a cancer journey. So it falls under the L for locate in our model. And if you think about the purpose of a map, what comes to mind to me is identifying where I am in the present moment and figuring out the route I'm going to take to get to my destination. So when I don't know about you, but when I go into a new shopping center, I always look for the directory first. The directory sign, I go straight to it and I identify the orange or red circle for where you are now. I find where I am, and then I figure out the route I'm going to take to get to my desired store that I want to go to. And I'll make a note. This is the route I'm going to take. These are the stores I'm going to pass. And so it gives me some familiarity with that I'm going on the right direction. And I'm going to pass these stores as I get to my desired store. In the same way, the Cancer Journey Roadmap outlines stages that we will all go through when we navigate a cancer journey. Doesn't matter what type of cancer you have. It doesn't matter the stage, your gender, your culture. These are very common stages we all go through. What may differ is how long we spend at each stage. That may differ between us, but we will all go through these stages. And we will go through these stages as a patient, as a survivor, and as a caregiver as well. And the other thing I wanted to say about this map is that it's very fluid, which means that we may go forward past a few stages, and then we may slide back. And that's okay. That's part and parcel of this cancer journey. And so it's important to recognize that it's not linear. Once we pass through a stage doesn't mean we won't go back. We may certainly go back, but in that going back, there's new learning that will occur and new healing. And so keep in mind, the map is not linear, it's fluid, and it's applicable to all of us, whether we're a patient, survivor, or caregiver. So this is an image of the Cancer Journey Roadmap. It has 7 stages, which are innocence, the call, initiation, the pit, allies, breakthrough, and transformation. And I'm going to go through each of these stages. I'm going to describe some of the feelings that one may have. I'm going to describe some of the thoughts that you may be experiencing. And I will share examples from my own story as much as possible as a patient, a survivor, and as a caregiver. So let's take the first stage of the roadmap, which is innocence. So innocence is exactly what it sounds like. We are living our best life. We are doing what we know best. For me personally, before cancer, before my diagnosis, I was married, happy, working, had my children, and I was planning our summer vacation. It was about June, and I was planning a vacation in August. And so I was in the middle of planning for that vacation. Towards the end of innocence is when we may get an inkling that something's not quite right. It may be fatigue, it may be pain, it could be bleeding, it could be a number of symptoms. For me, it was finding the lump. And so towards the end of innocence, you get something that happens that something you need to get further investigated. You need to know more, and you need to take action to get this looked at. Which leads us to our next stage, which is the call. And the call is basically, you go into the doctors, you have your tests run, biopsy, scans, ultrasounds, MRIs, and you're given the shocking news that you have cancer. You hear those words. And so it's called the call because it's the call to cancer. Whether you're a patient or a caregiver, you're being called to this journey of cancer that none of us want to be called on. None of us want that invitation. So I remember the feelings one can go through when you get this shocking news. I mean, it really differs between many of us, but some people go into shock. Some people go into denial. Some people go into extreme fear or sadness or overwhelm. And any of these emotions is normal. Everybody processes this news differently. I personally remember when I got the news, the oncologist said, well, I'm sorry to say, but everything shows that you do have breast cancer, and we are going to get started on radiation and surgery and radiation. That's what you'll need. So I remember looking at the oncologist. I remember hearing her words, and I said to her, okay, got it. I understand we need to do some treatment, but I'm planning a summer vacation, and can we put this off for a few weeks, and I'll fast forward my vacation, make it earlier, and then as soon as I'm back, we can get started. And I remember her looking at me. I remember my husband, his jaw dropped in shock, wondering what I was talking about. And she looked at me and she said, Shalina, I don't think you understand. Today's Tuesday. We're starting on Friday. And so now that I've processed my journey, I realized that was me trying to take control of the situation. That was me dealing with my shock and not wanting to be called to this journey of cancer. And me almost trying to deny that this was happening and trying to control to bring my vacation up forward. So that's my experience of when I got the call. And what I'm hoping that you're taking from this talk is that you are connecting with these stages in how you process the stage and really thinking about your own experiences, whether you're a patient, survivor, and caregiver, and connecting with them in your own lives. So we'll move forward from the call. As you can see, it moves down. We're going downwards, and it's called initiation. Initiation is that stage where our feelings are full of, they could be fear, anxiety, confusion, and a lot of overwhelm. And often people at this stage describe it, whether they're a patient, survivor, or caregiver, describe it as feeling lost, really lost and confused with what's going on. I know for me as a patient, I was getting frustrated because initially they told me one treatment plan, which was surgery and radiation. And then more tests came back and they said, no, Shalene, we're going to change the treatment. And you're actually going to start with chemotherapy and then have surgery and then have radiation. So I remember feeling very frustrated with and angry with like, why don't you just tell me what I'm supposed to do? And in this phase of initiation, there's also a lot of learning. There's a lot of new learning. You're learning new terms, medical terms. You're learning about new professionals, physicians, different types of oncologists. You're learning about perhaps different foods you want to be eating. You're learning about different treatments, and you're being asked to make decisions in a number of different areas of your life. It could be with work. How are you going to manage work? It could be with choosing the treatment to go forward. And so there's a lot of overwhelm and confusion in this phase. For me, after my treatment was over and I went back to work, so I'll share an example as a survivor. When I first went back to work as a therapist, I very quickly learned in the first few weeks, and especially in the first few months, that I wasn't the same person as I was before my cancer, and that I was experiencing anxiety, fatigue, and frustration. And I felt like I didn't have control. Even as a patient in initiation, you often feel you don't have control. And so I started spiraling and going down. That's when you know you're in initiation, when you feel lost, confused, and overwhelmed with what's happening, and you don't have a sense of control with your body and with your life. So we'll go down to the next stage, which is the pit. So the pit is exactly how it sounds. It's the pit. It's the lowest part of our journey. And as you can see from the map, we often tend to spiral in this part of our journey. We spiral and we go around and around and around. And often as a patient, this is your peak treatment time. You're in peak treatment with whatever your treatment is. And the feelings in the pit are always fear, sadness, despair, and often a lot of feeling hopeless and helpless. Our thoughts in the pit are often about, how am I going to get through this? I can't see the light at the end of this. How am I going to move forward? So there's a lot of swirl in our feelings and our thoughts about what we're going through. And so for me, I remember distinct memories of being in the pit multiple times during my treatment. And I'll share a few of them with you. I also want to, before I share the examples, I also want to say that the only way out of the pit is by being real. It's by being real and acknowledging what we're feeling, what we're thinking, and what we're doing. And so one of the examples when I was going through treatment, the first part, which was chemo, was I was reluctant to accept help. I was reluctant to accept help with, looking after my children, driving them to school, with, preparing meals. And so I felt like I could do it all. I was holding on to that warrior phase where I was reluctant to accept help. And the belief I was carrying was that I could do it all and I could manage and I should be able to do it all. I spent a lot of time shoulding myself. And so what helped me out of the pit at that time was letting go of that belief that was limiting me. I learned that I didn't have to do it all. It was good to accept help, and it was okay and helpful to accept support from family and friends. And that's eventually what helped me come out of the pit. Another example, when I was going through treatment I remember it was chemo number 5. They had changed the medication and I was experiencing excruciating pain. But again, I was carrying my warrior face, and I didn't want to admit that I was experiencing this to my oncologist. And so my husband spoke up and he said, "You need to reduce the dose or do something because she's in a lot of pain." And then she said something to me and she said, "Why are you being such a martyr?" So when she said that, it was after, like, it made me pause and it made me truly get real with the fact that I was resisting taking pain medication and why. And so when I dug deeper, I realized that I had a belief that I was carrying a belief that I was meant to suffer and I was meant to experience pain. And that belief was stopping me from asking for pain medication. So she reassured me that it was okay to take pain medication, and she eased all my worries about becoming addicted. And so I started taking the pain medication, and that helped me manage the pain, which helped me come out of the pit. So again, the reason that I'm sharing these examples is to highlight the feelings and the swirling that happens at this stage and how it's really hard to see clearly. But what helps us come out is being real with our feelings, all of our feelings, even the ones that you don't want to admit, those ones especially. Acknowledging what we're thinking that's going on. Often there's a lot of fear stories happening at the pit. And then letting go of behaviors that don't serve us. Yeah, and so as a caregiver, I remember when my mother was going through her treatment, especially with chemotherapy, I remember swirling because I felt guilty for the pain and her situation. And I felt helpless with what I could do to help her feel better. So there was a lot of swirling for me as a caregiver with how I can help my mom move forward. And I also felt at this stage as a caregiver, I also felt tired. I felt exhausted because I was doing a lot of running around, keeping track of appointments, making sure she was eating well. I was playing the role of, if I can say it, like a psychologist, her cheerleader, the cook, the secretary, person who, looked after all the appointments, make sure she got there. I was playing multiple roles and I was really exhausted. And so again, like I said, the way out of the pit is by admitting things to ourselves. The other way out of the pit is by leaning on our allies, which takes us to the next phase. Oh, yes, this one. Allies are those people, places, objects, things that nourish our spirit. They nourish us and they support us and they help us move forward in our journey with where we are. And so going back to my example with my mother, when I was swirling, I realized that this is a big job and I need a team with me to help me care for my mom. And so I told my sisters, I said, I need help and maybe you can help with this area. And that's all I had to do actually in my example with my sisters is I had to say, I'm struggling, can you help me? And they were forthcoming with offering their time. And they took some of the duties away. I also, in my example, also called my mother's siblings who live around the world. And I said, hey, I would appreciate if there's any way you can come for a short visit to help us. And they were more than happy to come at different times in her treatment, which really was helpful for me and for them. And my mom, of course. So again, allies are those people, places, and things that help you move forward. I was sharing with you an example that when I went back to work, I was shocked that I wasn't the same person and that I was tired and I was anxious and I was getting angry that I wasn't my confident, fast, efficient therapist that I was before. And so I started swirling. And one of the ways out of that pit for me was to get real with the fact that I was swirling. And so I asked for help. I spoke to a psychologist, I spoke to a psychotherapist, and I even spoke to a coach on what I was struggling with. And I leaned on them to show me how to move forward. So just keep in mind that allies could be people, but it also could be places that nourish you. A walk in the park, sitting outside in the sun, taking a deep breath, basking in the sunlight. It could be a specific prayer or affirmation that grounds you, or it could be a song or a poem that lifts your spirit and gives you hope to look ahead. Before we move on, I want to point out that often we forget that our biggest ally is ourself. We, like I referred to earlier, cancer can be messy. And often there are moments where we feel disconnected with who we are. But allies is about recognizing and activating who you are underneath the messiness of cancer. And what do you bring to this journey? What are your values? What are your strengths? What have you done in the past that has helped you navigate challenges? And how can you use that learning to this journey? So Allies is also a time where we activate ourselves to help us move forward. We then go to the next stage, which is breakthrough, which is exactly how it sounds. As a patient, we may be feeling a little bit better with some of the side effects of our treatment. Maybe we can see the end in sight. And so breakthrough is really where you start to feel better. You start to feel like you have more good days than bad days, or if you're a caregiver, your loved one has more good days than bad days. You also in breakthrough feel like you have a new level of self-awareness, that you've learned a lot and you've grown through this journey. And you have a new level of self-awareness with what you want and what you need. You may, at breakthrough, you may not know exactly what's going to happen in the future or how you're going to be living or what you're going to be working as, but you have a glimpse that you're excited about. You have a sense that something's about to change and you're excited about the future. For me, it was when I met the Cancer Journey Institute and I became registered in some of their programs, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm looking for. This is helping me process what my cancer was like. And this is helping me reignite that I want to do this. I want to work with people who are going through cancer because I know what it's like. And I want to show them ways to help them help themselves. And so that was a little bit about breakthrough for me as a survivor. An example of breakthrough for a caregiver is when you realize you see your loved one having more good days, when you realize that you've also grown. You've also learned more about yourself. So going back to me, I learned that it was okay to ask for help, that it was good to ask for help. I also learned about boundaries, that it was okay to say no to certain things that were being asked to me in order to preserve myself. Breakthrough is also a time for a caregiver specifically where you may be beginning new practices of self-care, taking care of yourself and your health and well-being. So maybe making sure you eat properly, or are okay with your exercise or your sleep, or having someone come in to help with looking after your loved one. Which takes us to the final stage, which is transformation. And transformation is where you are feeling hopeful and you are feeling optimistic about the future. And you know in transformation that you've transformed. You're the same person, but you're a newer version of yourself. You're stronger, you're more self-aware, and you may have transformed your way of living, because cancer has a way of transforming our beliefs and the way we live, whether we wanted to or not. And so in transformation, we may be choosing to live differently. We may be reprioritizing how we spend our time. We may have found new ways of eating that help us move forward and help us feel healthy and well. We may be managing our stress differently. The transformation is really about acceptance and celebration of the growth that has occurred during your journey. And during that process, you might have developed a new vision for how you want to move forward. So that's an outline with examples about the stages, the cancer journey roadmap. I'd like to talk a little bit for a few minutes about how do we use this map. So at the beginning, I said it's really helpful to have a map to locate where are you right now. And I'm hoping each and every one of you are asking yourselves, where are you right now on the cancer journey roadmap? And we find it helpful to know, using the map, that it helps us know we're not alone. There's a map, there's a roadmap to navigate cancer. And all the stages is what we all go through, whether we admit it or not. Whether we realize it at the time or not, we all go through these stages in our own way. And it's normal to go into the pit. It's absolutely normal. Even though we all resist it, it's normal to fall into the pit. And like I said multiple times during our treatment, as a survivor and as a caregiver, and that's okay, because there's new learning each and every time if we allow for it. The map also allows us to process our experiences, to ask ourselves what we're feeling and what we're thinking. The map allows us to identify what we want or what we need at each stage. So again, going back to my example of in the pit, it allowed me to figure out that, yeah, I'm swirling and I need help. I can't figure out how I'm going to go back to life after cancer without some help, without leaning on someone who knows how to help me. The map also enables us to communicate our feelings and our needs to others. Honestly, I've talked about the map so many times in my house, and I have told my children and my husband about the map and how really it can be used for life. We all fall into the pit, cancer or no cancer. And so now even they come to terms. They use my language of using the roadmap, and they say, oh, I'm in the pit. And I said, okay. I say, okay, to my children, what do you need to do in the pit? And then we have a conversation, and they know the word allies. And so asking ourselves, who is our ally right now? What will help me move forward? What can I lean on to nourish my sense of spirit and hope? The map also reminds us, and I think this is the most important thing, honestly, because we all tend to think that we're going to be stuck in one place forever. And I think the roadmap allows us to remember that we're on a journey and that there's more than the present moment. There's more to this journey than where we are right now. And knowing that provides us with a sense of hope that there is a path forward, and what I'm going through is normal and it will not be forever. So the next slide are some questions that I like to ask my clients when I show them the map. And I thought I'd share them with you, and just, read the ones that are helpful for you. So the first one I always ask when I show people the map is I ask them, where are you on the roadmap? And then what's it like to sit here? What's it like to be here? What are your feelings? And what are your thoughts while you're here? Really important to differentiate feelings from thoughts. Because when we're swirling, they're often all mixed up. So identifying what we're feeling and being honest with ourselves to acknowledge all our feelings and all our thoughts. Asking ourselves, what do I need? And what do I want? And I know sometimes when we ask that question, what do I want? I know the answer is for this cancer to go away. I know that. I've answered that. But when we really hone in on that question of what do I want, it could be something like, I need fresh air. I need to feel alive again. I need a nap. I need to rest. Or it could be, for me, like my example, I need this pain to stop. I just want this pain to stop. Another question is, what's important to me right now? You know, when we talked about allies, really recognizing who can I lean on for support? Or what helps me when I've had a challenge in the past? What's helped me move forward? Is it my faith? Is it a specific affirmation? Is it a certain prayer? What helps me move forward? And other questions are, what is my dream? And what's bigger than my cancer? Going back to activating yourself in your vision. What drives you? What fuels you? Because it's easy when we're in the swirl of cancer to be fixated on just the cancer. And remembering that we bring our strengths, our values, and our dreams to this journey. And connecting with that throughout the journey helps us maintain a sense of hope and optimism. So that is the Cancer Journey Roadmap. Before we open it up to questions, I'm sure all of you are well versed with Wellspring's programs. And I just wrote down a few of the programs that might be helpful for where you are in your journey. The first one is the Cancer Transition Coaching Program. And that is a program designed for people who have finished medical treatment and are 3 to 18 months post their treatment. And this program is really where you're matched with a volunteer coach. This is one of the programs I volunteer in. You're matched with a volunteer coach, and they're the program administrators are very skilled with matching you with a coach that will align with what you've been through or your interests. And you get matched with a volunteer coach, and you have 6 sessions with them, 1-to-1. And they will help you identify goals and concerns with helping you move forward from the cancer. So you may have concerns about eating, managing pain or fatigue. They will help you identify your concerns, and then they will help you identify resources, strategies, and programs to help you move forward, reminding you of what you can do in your situation. The other coaching program Wellspring has is the Chronic Cancer Coaching Program, which is for those individuals who have a chronic cancer and who may be experiencing cancer for a longer period of time. And so they are also matched with a volunteer coach, and they specialize in helping the clients manage their feelings that come up with this. And again, teaching it's goal-centered, addressing their concerns and linking them with resources and strategies to help them move forward and really to optimize their quality of life and well-being. Another amazing program by Wellspring is the Healing Journey program, which has multiple levels. This is a registered group program, and it's really designed like what I do, but really like it's designed to help you learn ways to process your cancer journey and to learn strategies to help you from a mental aspect, an emotional aspect, and a spiritual aspect, because we all know cancer impacts the whole person. And finally, Wellspring has a number of patient and caregiver support groups, which you can look at the website to register and get more information on. So that's my presentation.